Now, this is Business Breakfast. Let's quickly take a look at the Nigeria's pension asset as we take a look at the fund administration and investment. The total value of Nigeria's pension fund asset as at 31 December 2021 grew by 3.26% quarter on quarter to 13.42 trillion naira from 13.01 trillion naira recorded in September 2021. The pension fund sector of the economy has the bulk of the fund assets invested in the federal government of Nigerian securities. PENCOM in the report stated that the growth in the fourth quarter of 2021 was higher than the growth of 343.9 billion naira, or about 2.72% recorded in the third quarter of 2021, mainly due to the contributions received and market valuation of FGN bonds and equities. Dr. Leke Ebenezer is a business analyst. He joins us now. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show.
Yes. Let's start by looking at discussing the impressive growth of the Nigeria pension sector over time. I mean, this report shows that it has grown really. Just within a quarter, it jumped from about 13.01 trillion naira to 13.42 trillion naira. That's massive. What's your take on this?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Of course, like you mentioned, the Nigerian pension fund industry recorded a very significant growth in 2021. And of course, with the asset value hitting about 13 trillion as at precisely September 2021. And of course, the industry is also able to produce about 6.42% return on investment. Pension fund administration, as it were, in Nigeria attracted a lot of reformation in the last few years. But there are so many other issues that are really slowing down, the performance of that particular industry. But so far, that, the pension fund administration in Nigeria has been doing so well. And of course, return on investment has been so wonderful. Because majority of the investment done by those pension fund administrator is always in a federal government bond and of course local money market instruments. And of course, it has been yielding a very reasonable return on investment.
One wonders if the pension asset has grown this far because of the various investment in the sector. Again, if you look at it, there are some retirees whose money are also in part of this, and one wonders why those retirees under the old scheme, some of them are still experiencing non-payment of their monthly pension or allowances. So what do you think creates, what do you think is responsible for these lapses, that some of them are still experiencing non-payment?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. The challenge we've been having in that sector has been, a lot of interference outside the sector. And what do I mean by that statement? If you check very well, the Nigerian society is a society where our political system is strongly tied to the economic system. And it's almost difficult to separate the two of them. So most of the time, when there are political factors that arises, they always bring about a kind of side effect on all other sectors, including the pension fund. In fact, there were stories that, look at a lot of the mismanagement that has been done in that sector before now. And, this money are monies that are kept or saved to protect the future of people that have worked and also to make the economy run. Because the idea behind pension fund is that the power to be able to channel excess fund to to the deficit part of the economy. You know, if people who are working now are saving, and then, you know, the money is being invested and is recycled in the economy, that is going to affect all the components of GDP, which are consumption, investment, government expenditure, and net export. But, you know, the political factor that we have in the country has been one of the major issues that is affecting that sector. And that trickles down to a lot of people who have money in that industry and they could not access their money. And, you know, because the way it's expected to work is that when you do the pension, because we are running a contributory pension system where, you know, the person that is working will have to put down some money, the organization also will have to put down some money, and that money will be invested, you know, in a kind of an investment portfolio so that the future of the workers can be protected. But you know, what has happened is that this money are there, they are not properly invested, and then when they are properly invested, the return and the original money, you know, the control of that money is being influenced by a lot of political factors. I'm being economical with my words right now, and that has been the challenge we're having in that sector. But apart from that, you know, last year, the 63.2% of the total asset of that industry was invested in the federal government security, most especially the bond. And of course, it has been yielding a very good return, except that, you know, shady deals that are going on in that sector that is not making people to have access to their money, and you know, lack of transparency that is not making us to see the efficiency of that industry has been the major issue.
Would it be wrong, Dr. Leke, if, because conversations around a pension fund sometime often centered about how the government can invest this money, or how can this fund be invested in federal government securities and make returns. But we've not had conversation in the area of how to also empower, you know, individuals or retirees, because these funds, of course, some of the funds, you know, the bulk of the funds came from the pension fund sector, which of course is a proceed of the contributions from, you know, in the companies, private sectors, workers, employees, and all of that. So one will wonder if the government can start looking in the way of empowering individual, perhaps going through maybe a particular company, SMEs or microfinance bank, to start reaching out and empowering people in the area of skill acquisition, startups, and then be able to create an economy that will empower individual to start, you know, getting busy economically.
Yeah, you are very correct. That is one of the purpose of pension. You know, like I said, the purpose of pension basically is that when surplus money, now I use the word surplus because if you are a worker collecting 100,000 and we say, okay, out of the 100,000, you are setting aside 10,000 naira for pension. Now that is a kind of surplus that is expected to be channeled to the deficit unit of the economy through the financial market. But and like you said, most of this money gotten from pension, they are supposed to be targeted towards SME development and growth. And, you know, but the Nigerian government, like I said, the political system is strongly tied to the economic sector. That the economic sector that's supposed to regulate itself, you know, by targeting all of these people you have said, investing in SMEs, targeting the microfinance banks, so that can trickle down to individuals. And when that happens, consumption will expand. When that happens, investment will increase. When that happens, government expenditure will even be making a lot of sense, because in the long run, when businesses are running, they will pay tax. And when they pay tax, that's revenue for the government. So this thing is expected to drive through that route. But like I said, we've been having a lot of influences that are negative on that sector, and that is not making all of this to happen. For example, there is a decrease of about 27.6% was happened in investment of the pension fund into the local money market, because the money that were invested before now, let's say like 2020, 2019, 2018 was about 2.29 trillion. But after 2021, what was invested is 116.84 billion. That is 27.6% decrease. And that is not good for that sector, because if there are issues about the pension fund, like you said, it's going to affect the SMEs. Individuals are not going to benefit. The economy is not going to grow. Consumption is going to crash. Investment is going to continue to decrease. And that is not good for the GDP of any economy. So, like I always say, people who do not have interest in a particular sector, you don't expect them to give right policies. And that is one of the factors that has been affecting this industry when it comes to pension fund. The pension fund industry, most of the money have been badly managed, and a lot of interest are coming up on that particular industry, and that is really, really affecting every part of the economy that ordinarily they are not supposed to be affected.
Dr. Leke, I want you to speak to the issue of retirees, the plight of the retirees who are not being paid regularly, because there's so much agitations almost every sector of the economy. For instance, recently we heard that some pensioners of the power holding company of Nigeria, which is defunct now, they were agitating that they were not being paid. And of course, the pension fund is there. The asset is there, lying down there. And so there's a way, because some people believe that if we have such a sector with such amount of asset, there, we shouldn't be having problem of setting some of these outstanding payment for retirees as well. Speak to that. What do you think can be done to address that loophole, such that every worker who has served Nigerian can be equally compensated as well?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. You and I, of course, know that a lot of retirees are not, they are not properly taken care of, and it's painful. The way pension is expected to work is that once they are contributing that money in their active lifetime, the money is supposed to go into an annuity. So they're supposed to put it in an annuity plan that annuity will pay them for life. So it's just like you put that fund in an annuity that by the time those people retire at 60, 65, 70, and the fund, the annuity plan will continue to pay them for the next 50 years without any influence. Because these things are based on financial calculations and actuarial projections that are very accurate. So there should not be in the first place issues with retirees' payments. Everybody that has worked supposed to be getting their money without any hassle, because an annuity plan that is set up that once you put money there in your active lifetime, it will take care of you in your inactive lifetime. But because the government of the system, one way or the other, have altered that process, and that's why retirees are, really, really suffering right now. And of course, if you look at some of the corruption in the pension board, is enormous. You can't even imagine it. There's, a report has it that in a particular year, the pension board set up by the government stole about 24 billion. Another set of people stole about 151 billion. That is people's money, for God's sake. people's money that they were saving, expected to be in an annuity plan that will take care of them when they are no longer active. But some set of people will come together, sit down, steal this money, and you don't expect money to fall from heaven when the money that is meant for retirees has been stolen. And that has been one of the major challenge that we have. And the retirees, even if they decide to say, okay, let's approach the court of law to fight for us, a lot of them are aged, and then even if you want to bring the courts into that argument, one way or the other, the judiciary system has been so, I want to be economical with my words. It's not really helping matters. And so, for me,
hello, Dr. Leakey. Okay. Yeah, Dr. Leakey, continue. Yeah, okay, just let me come in here a bit. I want us to, just to be clear, really, you talked about for workers who have worked for years, and of course, who are also in this contribution in terms of a pension contributory scheme. Of course, this is a new scheme. We have old scheme that perhaps, I do not know whether that has been captured, but the report, according to what I've seen, and it has not been really captured, or they have not been integrated into the new scheme at the moment. How can we harmonize the old scheme where people pay money and then it goes into an annuity account and is stuck there, which of course can save for life? How do we harmonize such that these funds, in annuity account can also be productive in such a way that these people can also be paid when when they are due for it as well? I want you to speak to that harmonization process.
Okay, a lot of policies they've come up in the last few months, let me put it that way, as to the harmonization of the old pension scheme and the new one. So the harmonization has been done already, and of course, in fact, some organizations have adopted it, if not all. So the issue of making sure that money is in an annuity that constantly pay retirees or pensioners, is something that is long settled before now. I did think that the economic system of our country is not strongly tied to the political system, because the economic system is supposed to work and operate on its own. So when you have that money in that annuity, it's supposed to naturally generate funds that will pay pensioners or retirees for life. And that money will be put into use to expand the economy. Because when you save that money is not expected to be idle. They will be invested in the deficit unit of the economy, and when they are invested in deficit unit of the economy, they continue to generate interest where the retirees and pensioners are paid, and the economy will also grow. So, like I always say, the political factor has been one of the germane issues that we have that is disturbing that sector and the whole of that process, including the harmonization. Because some class of people, let me put it that way, realize that if they try to do the harmonization, perhaps where they have been eating money will be blocked. And so many of them are doing everything they can do to sabotage or sabotage that process, and that has been one of the major issues that new policies are trying to fight.
It's all right. Well, I hope that we get a good report as regard how retirees are treated going forward. Thank you so much, Dr. Leakey, for coming on the program this morning. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Dr. Leakey Ebenezer, business analyst.